Right here, what we're gonna do is go back. Way back.
Welcome to the Dark Times channel. And before I get started, please make sure you go ahead and hit that like button for me. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and do that as well. And so in the up and coming Netflix series that's set to premiere on May 10th, the actress that's going to be playing Cleopatra is Adele James. And Adele James is somebody who's of mixed race descent. I believe her mother is a so-called white woman and her father is a so-called black man. And so she's somebody that we would consider to be biracial or of mixed race descent. And they're outraged, just like they were a few months ago when Kevin Hart was over in Egypt and he stated that the original people of Egypt were black. They had to cancel his show. He actually had to cancel a concert in Egypt because he said that the original Egyptians were black. And so here they are again, back at it. This time they're threatening to sue the director of the series Cleopatra. This time they're threatening to sue her for blackwashing and erasing Egyptian history. And I wouldn't have any issue with a group of people trying to protect their history and hold on to what they believe is true. If that were simply the case, I wouldn't have any issue. If it was just a group of people, like I said, trying to protect their history and hold on to their history, that would be one thing. But this is something else. This is definitely not that. And the director of Cleopatra, she actually got a chance to touch on it. I'm gonna go ahead and read a quote from her and then of course I'll chime in. She said, "After much hand-wringing and countless auditions, we found in Adele James an actor who could convey not only Cleopatra's beauty, but also her strength. What the historians can confirm is that it's more likely that Cleopatra looked like Adele than Elizabeth Taylor ever did." So was Cleopatra black? We don't know for sure, but we can be certain she wasn't white like Elizabeth Taylor. We need to have a conversation with ourselves about colorism and the internalized white supremacy that Hollywood has indoctrinated us with. And so absolutely, and she's not saying anything that the majority of people don't already know. So everything was all white when Elizabeth Taylor was playing Cleopatra. Nobody had an issue with the likes of Elizabeth Taylor and some of the other actresses that have played Cleopatra over the years. Here's another one, 1945, Caesar and Cleopatra, Vivian Leigh. Never saw it. Monica Bellucci, she played in, what is she playing? She played in The Matrix, that's right. She was in The Matrix. 2002, Mission Cleopatra, Monica Bellucci. Sophia Loren. This is 1954. I didn't realize there was that many Cleopatras ever made. Here's another one. Lenore Varela, Claudette Colbert, 1934. I believe this is the original Cleopatra. Theda Bara. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, this was the original Cleopatra. Theda Bara. No, I stand corrected. 1917 Cleopatra. This is the original Cleopatra. That's a hell of a name. Florence Lawrence, 1908. I stand corrected. Is another Cleopatra. So this is the original Cleopatra. Damn, this is just the list of the best Cleopatras ever made. And this is the top 10. So God knows how many Cleopatras they've made over the years. So that's very telling. It's very telling that there's been this many different versions of Cleopatra and they've all been lily white. And that should tell you everything you need to know right there. Case closed. And so it's no secret to the whitewashing and the undertones of white supremacy within Hollywood. That's no secret. But the Egyptians are lying to themselves. The Egyptians are going out of their way to say that their history is being destroyed or their history is being blackwashed. That's taking it to another level. Like I said, it would be one thing if they were keeping it real on both ends. At no time and at no place did the Egyptians have an issue with any of these lily white actresses that they got to play Cleopatra. And we already talked about there's been probably at least 100 of them worldwide. I just went through the top 10. And so at no time and no place did they have any issue with Cleopatra being lily white. But the moment they make one black Cleopatra, and she's not even, I would consider her black. But she has one white parent and one black parent. And this is a good teachable moment for my biracial brothers and sisters out there. And I've done a few videos now on mixed race couples and intermarriage. And my stance is my stance. At the end of the day, people are going to marry who they want to marry. But your child is always going to be viewed as black. And the sooner that you can convey that to your child, the better off your child is going to be. Not only for themselves, but for the betterment of society. And we won't have the Sage Steels running around here. We won't have the Malika Andrews running around here. And so we know there's no such thing as black. There's no such thing as white. But those are the terms that we've been given. And black just means basically you have too much melanin for comfort. That's all black means. There's no such thing as black. That's why I use the term so-called black and I use the term so-called white. And sometimes occasionally I'll use black or white, whatever the case may be. But if I use it, I'm using it against my will. I do so because I'm trying to explain to somebody that may not know what the hell I'm talking about. So I'll just speak in layman's terms. You know, I understand there's a lot of biracial people out there that are so-called passing for white. And that's kind of a different case. You know, that's kind of a different scenario. Because a lot of the people within the dominant society, as long as you look white and you can pass for white, you're going to be treated white. And, you know, that is what it is. So if you're passing and that's what you want to do, you want to pass, go ahead. Get your love where you can get your love. Definitely understand that. But for biracial people who look like this and who look like Sage Steele and Malika Andrews, they're not fooling a lot of the people within the dominant society. They know exactly what they are. They're biracial, and that means black by automatic systematic default. That means you have too much melanin for my comfort. You have too much melanin for my genes. No, thank you. And that's not even something that's probably a conscious thing by a lot of them. I think it's innate in a lot of people. Some might even say that it's almost a defense mechanism. So-called black gene is dominant. The so-called white gene is recessive. That's just science. You pour a couple of drops of black paint in a white bucket of paint, you can kiss that white paint goodbye. It's no longer white paint. It's no longer lily white. It's something new. It's a new color. It's going to make a dull brown or a blackish brown, depending on how much, black ink or how much paint you add. But you mix those two together, like I said, you've got a lighter shade of black, but it's still black. And that's exactly how a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people within the dominant society view biracial people. And so this is a good learning lesson for a lot of my biracial brothers and sisters out there. Definitely take heed to what I'm telling you. The sooner you understand this, the better. I want to get into this Egyptian lawyer who thought it was a good idea to rewrite history, or at the very least, misinterpret history. So one of the reasons he cited for Cleopatra not being black and being fair-skinned was that her father was a Greek. All you have to do is go back to the Olympian creation myth. And it states that some of the earliest groups to appear on Earth were Thracians. And the Thracians were descendants of Cushites and Egyptians. And I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but just take a look at some of this art right here. This is 750 BC. This is some of the original artwork coming out of Athens. It's known as the geometric style. And it depicts black people. And if you note who's serving who, and keep in mind, this is one of the earliest artworks coming out of Athens. And you can research online and pull artifacts of so-called black people throughout Europe and throughout Greece, throughout Rome, and all these different places. And not only are they in the artwork, but they're also described in writings. And so at the very least, the Greeks were of mixed race descent. It was somewhat of a melting pot during this time, at the very least. And so for this so-called Egyptian historian to say that he knows that Cleopatra wasn't black based on the fact that she was Greek is just ignorant. And I don't even want to say that it's ignorant. It's more like willful ignorance. Because like I said, a lot of these people, they know exactly what their griefs look like. They just don't want to say it out loud. They don't want to have to say it out loud because they don't have to. If you have the power to rewrite history, then that's what some people are always going to choose to do because they have the power to do so. Goodness, fairness, things like that means very little to them. What it all comes down to is power. And if you have the power to rewrite history, then by all means, that's what people in that position are going to do. Some people. Because if it was truly about the integrity of history, if it was truly about that, then they would have had a problem with gods of Egypt. They would have had a problem with Exodus. They would have had a problem with the original Cleopatra. They would have had a problem with the Liz Taylor Cleopatra. They would have had a problem with the Angelina Jolie Cleopatra. If it was truly about being accurate and not rewriting their history, they would have had a problem with all of those films. Because all of those films were whitewashed to the T. But nobody had an issue or nobody had a problem with those films. For the simple fact that they were whitewashed. And that's what it comes down to. It comes down to being anti-black or anti-dark. Colorism. Nobody wants to be at the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak. And so it's the same thing in a lot of these countries, especially with the indigenous people of that country, whether it be North America, South America, India, Asia. The darker the complexion, the less of you they think. The only value that they can see in the darker hued people around the world is entertainment value. It's okay to have these people to come perform for you as long as they know their place on the totem pole. Just ask Kevin Hart. And like I said earlier, a lot of these people aren't ignorant when it comes to history. A lot of these people in different countries know our history better than we do. But it's not about what's factually correct. It's about reality and having the ability to create your own reality, whether it be through history or through propaganda. And I think that's where a lot of people miss it. I know I did earlier on. I used to get upset and confused as to why people would want to lie about history. And once you understand why people do it, and once you understand that it's out of the need of necessity, then it's hard to be confused and it's hard to be upset because it's the nature of the game. It may not be fair, but what's the old saying? All is fair in love and war. And what is history? History is warfare without bloodshed. Having the power to create a history and rewrite a history is warfare. And that's the way a lot of people view history. I think so-called black people are the only people that don't view history like that. We view history like it's supposed to be told accurately and it's supposed to be told from a place of authenticity. But that's not the case. I think we're the only people on the face of earth that view it like that. Everybody else views it as every man for himself. If you're able to hold on to a piece of history, then by all means a group of people are going to try to hold on to a piece of history, whether it belongs to them or not. Like I said, it's got nothing to do with goodness and fairness. That means very little in this place. And so I think that's going to be it for me on this video. Definitely wasn't surprised and definitely wasn't shocked when I heard this. We should all be used to this by now, but definitely wanted to chime in and want to know what y'all think on it as well. So please feel free to chime in the comment section. And as usual, peace and chaos.